Hi everybody, welcome to the session. You're with me Arun Sharma, and this session I'm actually doing the CAT previous year questions, and I've picked up the CAT 2021 paper, slot 3 for you today. And before I start off, let me just check this with the YouTube channel and the YouTube link, whether I'm audible or not. Also, let's also focus on, yes, I think you guys can see me and hear me properly. Been some time since I've done this, so uh, so coming back to this, you guys can of course uh, ask me questions and discussions on the chat. So I'm able to see your chats also. And this is a session on CAT PYQs where I'm discussing PYQs for CAT. But before we start, a few things I want to remind you of. The new batches for CAT 22. 16th February, Excel batch for droppers with these faculties Pradipta, Sagar, Ashish Kumar, and Divya Mishra. Just give me a second. Yeah, so right, so and 16th February, the other batch is the perfect score batch with toppers for CAT 22. 16th February, Shabana, Ravi Prakash, and Bharat Gupta are taking this session. Unlock 20% of off on all Unacademy subscriptions. This is till Wednesday, today that is. On the 24-month iconic subscription, you have a 12,000 off, which is from 60,000 to 48,000. 18 months may you get a 20% off of 9,950. That means 39,800 is the fees. For the 12 months duration, you've got a 7,900 reduction to 31,000, and 6 month के लिए you will have to pay 20,000 fees for the iconic subscription. And of course, the plus subscription, 2 years, 24,000, 1 year, 22,000. You got these free offers available for today, right? So coming back, exciting offer for CAT Nomads aspirants, up to 2 months free on 12 and 24 months plus subscription, valid only till 16th February. So this one is also valid only till 16th February, and then GDPI 30% off, flat 30% off till 14th February tha. So this is over. And Unacademy Ask a Doubt is now available on Unacademy website and app with brand new updates. Get solutions in your preferred language. Select the language you want your question to be answered in. Simply click crop and submit your doubts, and you can ask a doubt now there. And to access all these courses, etc., you'll get an additional 10% off on the fees if you use my promo code. The promo code is SharmaCatLive. So right, so let me go ahead with a discussion of of the paper which I want to discuss. As I told you, I'm discussing the CAT 2021 slot 3 paper with you guys here. And the first question that comes up is this one. And the question says a park is shaped like a rhombus and has an area of 96 square meters. If 40 meters of fencing is needed to enclose the park, the cost in INR of laying electric wires along its two diagonals at the rate of 125 per meter is. So before when you start this problem, the first thing you do inside this question is you try to look at the construct about the fact that this is a mensuration question. starts with the fact that we are talking about a rhombus, and the rhombus is an area of 96 square meters. So if we start working with this, a rhombus basically, as you know, is a quadrilateral with all sides equal. A quadrilateral with all sides equal. And about rhombus, you should remember that all rhombuses, all squares are rhombuses, but not the other way around. So this is what a rhombus looks like. It's also a parallelogram. All rhombuses are parallelograms, but again, not the other way around. And once you read this part, you get the other aspect is that the area is 96, right? So the formula for the area of a quadrilateral, any quadrilateral, based is essentially half d1 into d2. Rhombus does not have any specific very clear formula that you remember or that you need to remember for its area, but the general formula for the area of a quadrilateral based on uh, the length of the diagonals is half d1 into d2. So the first reaction in this question is 96 is equal to half d1 d2, and once you get that, you end up getting d1 d2 is equal to 192. The product of d1 d2 is 192, right? And this reaction you can actually have at the start of the problem in the first sentence itself. And the next sentence is 40 meters of 40 meters of fencing is required to is needed to enclose the park, right? 40 meters of fencing is required to enclose the park. So that means that the reaction to that statement essentially the reaction to that statement is that the length of the sides would be 10 each. The length of the sides would be 10 each. And since d1 d2 is 192, the length of the diagonals would be factors of 192. So if you start thinking about factors of 192, what you get is the various factors of 192 are essentially 1 into 192, 2 into 96, 3 into 64, 4 into 48, 6 into 32, and this should be symptomatic. What I'm doing here, this skill is the ability to find out the uh, the factors of a number. It's a very important construct in solving questions. So how quickly can you do this is going to be a factor in how quickly you can solve this question. So 6 into 32, 8 into 24, and 12 into 16. These are the factors of 192. Now before I go ahead with this question and tell you what to do, what is important for us to understand is that through a school, through a college, we have been always finding factors in a straight line. That means if I tell you find the factors of 80, you get the factors, you normally do the factors in a straight line. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 does not, 8 divides it, 9, 10 divides it, and so on. And you keep looking for factors, right? So instead of doing this as a process for factor search, what you should do is, as a rule, you should take the factors in pairs. So what it means is, if you use 1 here, automatically 80 becomes a parallel factor of this. If you use 2 here, 40 becomes a parallel factor. So you always get factors in pairs there. So 180, 240, and the advantage of doing it this way versus doing it this way is that ऐसे करोगे factors तो 10 के बाद फिर आगे भी factors खोजने पड़ेंगे तुमको. ऐसे निकालोगे तो लॉजिक क्या होता है कि स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 80 तक चले जाओ, go till the square root of 80 which is 8 point something, और स्क्वायर रूट तक जितने फैक्टर्स है खोज लो. तो ऊपर वाले फैक्टर, ये सब फैक्टर स्क्वायर रूट के ऊपर वाले हैं, तो स्क्वायर रूट के नीचे वाले फैक्टर्स खोज लोगे तो ऊपर वाले फैक्टर्स अपने आप मिल जाएंगे. सो 1 into 80, 2 into 40, 4 into 20, 3 डिवाइड नहीं करता 80 को, 5 है तो 16 है, 6 डिवाइड नहीं करता क्योंकि 3 नहीं डिवाइड करता था, राइट. एंड 7, 8 अगर देखोगे तो 8 डिवाइड करता है इसको, 8 into 10. तो इस तरह से तुम स्क्वायर रूट तक चले जाओ तो फैक्टर्स मिल जाएगा. तो इसलिए जब इस क्वेश्चन में तुमको 192 के फैक्टर्स चाहिए, when you want factors of 192, तो 192 के फैक्टर्स खोजने के लिए तो 13 पॉइंट समथिंग तक ही खोजना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज 13 स्क्वायर 169 है, ठीक है ना. और 14 स्क्वायर जो होता है वो 196 हो जाता है. तो 13 स्क्वायर 169 है, तो 13 तक ही फैक्टर्स खोजने पड़ेंगे तुमको. और इसलिए जब इसके फैक्टर्स हम लोग ने खोजे तो इस फॉर्म में खोजे 12 तक, और 13 डिवाइड नहीं कर रहा है. नाउ हम लोग इस क्वेश्चन में ट्राई क्या कर रहे हैं कि ये इसमें से कौन सा डायगोनल होता क्या है. किसी भी रोम्बस में एक लॉन्ग डायगोनल होता है, और दूसरा शॉर्ट डायगोनल होता है. और एक लॉन्ग डायगोनल होता है, दूसरा शॉर्ट डायगोनल होता है, और दोनों डायगोनल्स जो साइड का लेंथ होगा उससे लंबे होंगे हमेशा. तो अगर इस लिस्ट को हम चेक कर रहे हैं फॉर D1 D2 वैल्यूज, इस लिस्ट को अगर हम लोग चेक कर रहे हैं फॉर D1 D2 वैल्यूज, तो what it means is that we are looking for D1 and D2 both greater than 10, right. तो अगर both greater than 10 है तो there is only one case here, 12 and 16. तो इसका मतलब एक डायगोनल 12 का है, छोटा वाला, ठीक है, और दूसरा डायगोनल 16 का है. तो एक बार ये मिल गया तुमको. once you get this, तो उसके बाद द क्वेश्चन इज डन, बिकॉज द क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग कि आपको यू हैव टू ले इलेक्ट्रिक वायर्स अलोंग द डायगोनल्स. तो आपको इलेक्ट्रिक वायर्स अलोंग डायगोनल्स करना है एट द रेट ऑफ 125 पर मीटर, राइट. तो ये 28 मीटर्स का, एक डायगोनल आपको 16 और दूसरा 12, तो 28 मीटर्स का लेंथ का आपको इलेक्ट्रिक वायर लगाना है एट रेट ऑफ 125 मीटर. द टोटल कॉस्ट ऑफ दिस इज 3500. सो दैट्स द आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन. 3 स्टेप का क्वेश्चन था. This was the prior knowledge you required, and of course you need to understand what rhombus is, right? So 3500 इसका आंसर है. चलो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे चलते हैं. ये क्वेश्चन आउट ऑफ स्क्रीन जा रहा है. तो सेकंड क्वेश्चन को फिर से देखते हैं. Maybe I'll just reduce the size of this and pull this up. ठीक है, now should be fine. Look at the second question. A tea shop offers tea in cups of 3 different sizes. The product of the prices in INR of the product of the prices in INR of the 3 different sizes 800. तो पहला रिएक्शन यहाँ पे है कि 3 डिफरेंट साइजेस में वो टी ऑफर कर रहा है. And the product of the size prices in INR of these 3 different sizes is equal to 800. So if I talk about the 3 sizes being 1, 2 and 3, तो P1 into P2 into P3 का जो प्रोडक्ट है वो 800 होना चाहिए. That's the first reaction inside this problem. Then the question says the prices of the smallest size and the medium size are in the ratio 2:5. So that means एक small size है, एक medium size है, right? तो एक large size होगा. So when you start thinking about the situation you have at the current moment in the problem, before you read this second sentence, you have a situation where you've got one equation and 3 unknowns. You have a situation where you've got one equation and 3 unknowns. Right? और उसके बाद जब ये इन्फॉर्मेशन आपको सेकेंड इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल रहा है, द प्राइस ऑफ द स्मॉलेस्ट साइज एंड द मीडियम साइज इन द रेशियो 2:5, तो इस पॉइंट पे आपको ये मिलता है कि ये प्राइस अगर 2x है तो ये प्राइस 5x है. तो इसमें क्या किया है कि इन्होंने P1 by P2 का वैल्यू दे दिया 2/5. So effectively what they have done is they have given you a second equation. And you can react like this to it. And if you think of P1 as 2x and P2 as 5x, then P3 becomes y. So you now have 2 unknowns and 1 equation. The product of P1 into P2 into y is still 800. And obviously once you build this equation, you're not going to leave it here. You're not going to leave the equation here. You're going to make this with as 10x square y is equal to 800. 10x square y is equal to 800. That's what you get. Right? और 10x square y अगर 800 मिल गया तुमको, तो you get the value of x square y as 80. And while this can be, it is possible that at this point that y or x could be a decimal, but if you start thinking integers at this point, integers पे सोचते हो, तो 80 के फैक्टर्स एज अ स्क्वायर में तुम्हारा सिर्फ 4, 2 स्क्वायर 4, 1 स्क्वायर इंटू 80, एक स्ट्रक्चर ये बन रहा है, 2 स्क्वायर इंटू 40, सॉरी 2 स्क्वायर इंटू 20, राइट, एंड 4 स्क्वायर इंटू 5, ये 3 पॉसिबिलिटी बन रहा है. This is the 3 possibilities to start with. Of course, it could also happen that that ये 5 स्क्वायर है और ये 3.2 है, एक्सेट्रा. बट फॉर द टाइम बीइंग इसको हम लोग बाहर रखते हैं अपने सॉल्यूशन से, राइट. और ये 3 स्ट्रक्चर जब मिलता है तुमको, तो what then happens, you can actually try to fit in these values here. If you think about x as 1, so what you have is you got the prices of 2 rupees, 5 rupees and 80 rupees. 2 rupees, 5 rupees and 80 rupees. Right? With x is 2, you have 4 rupees, 10 rupees and 20 rupees. And with x is 4 and y is 5, you have 8 rupees, 20 rupees and 5 rupees. Now, when you think of price of small, medium, large, this obviously immediately gets rejected. Large cup cannot be cheaper than the small and medium cups. It will require a very illogical shopkeeper to do this, right? So you can have 4, 10, 20 or 2, 5, 80 as the two structures for the prices of the three this thing. And this whole thing should be done in around 15-20 seconds by you. 15 से 20 सेकंड में यहाँ तक तुमको पहुँच जाना चाहिए इस पॉइंट में, because you have only reacted to this, और ये reaction करने के बाद you got to this values, and maybe not 20 seconds but at least 30, 40 seconds maybe you should reach it. उसके बाद क्या बोल रहा है कि the shop owner decides to, yeah, good to see you Yashraj, good to see you that you are active here. So if the shopkeeper decides to increase the price of the smallest and medium ones by INR 6, keeping the price of the largest size unchanged, the product then changes to 3200. So यहाँ पे the next step is this, कि if you raise the price of the small and medium by 6 rupees, and keep the price of the largest one constant, the product becomes 3200, right? Now if you're solving this mathematically, ये जो सॉल्विंग मैंने दिखाया तुमको, यहाँ पे न्यूमेरिकल थॉट हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं. मैथमेटिक्स अलजेब्रा किया एक स्टेप, उसके बाद न्यूमेरिकल्स पे आ गए. इस क्वेश्चन में जब यहाँ पे जब आते हो इस पॉइंट पे, तो यू नाउ लुकिंग एट these numbers, and if you're thinking only algebraically, you will form a new equation which will say 2x plus 6 into 5x plus 6. Yeah, the answer is 4, 10, 20. That's obvious. 5x plus 6. I'm just trying to show you the various ways in which people think. Into y is equal to 3200. और कहने के लिए एक इक्वेशन और दूसरा इक्वेशन और अननोन सिर्फ x और y है, राइट? अननोन सिर्फ x और y है, राइट? तो 2 इक्वेशंस 2 अननोन्स तो है कहने के लिए, बट इफ यू start thinking algebraically here, you can see how twisted and tough this solution is going to become. And this is one of the problems that specifically engineers have while solving questions in CAT. वो फंस जाते हैं questions के अंदर because they are stuck between stuck in the algebra, and you have to you have to kind of think about numerical ways to exit the algebra inside questions. So CAT में you'll see the problem solving that helps you are two kinds. One is you solve the question completely numerically. नंबर से स्टार्ट करो, नंबर से एंड करो. और दूसरा है कि तुम algebraically स्टार्ट करो लेकिन बीच में नंबर्स को इंट्रोड्यूस कर दो. राइट? So ये वाला solution is that kind of solution. So when you come here and you say कि okay, I'm increasing the price by 6 rupees and 6 rupees for the small and medium. If you try this solution, the price will be 8 into 11 into 80, which is not 3200. इस solution में try करोगे तो 10 into 16 into 20, जिसका product indeed 3200 आ रहा है, and hence this is the correct answer. Let's have a look at the next question now. इस क्वेश्चन को ट्राई करो. तो इस क्वेश्चन में क्या बोल रहे हैं? Let me start. A shop owner bought a total of 64 shirts from a wholesale market that came in two sizes, small and large. The price of a small shirt was 50 less than that of a large shirt. So ठीक है, at this point you realize that what has happened, he's bought small shirts and large shirts, and the total number of shirts he has bought is 64. The total number of shirts he has bought is 64, and the price of a small shirt was 50 less than that of a large shirt. So S plus L is 50, 64. Let S be the number of shirts he bought, small shirts, and L be the number of shirts, large shirts he bought. And then the second variable talked about, this is number of shirts, right? And you have to, when you're solving questions, you have to keep track of the variables, right? So यहाँ पे second variable आ रहा है price of the shirts. So price of the shirt जब आ रहा है यहाँ पे, the price of a small shirt was 50 less than that of a large shirt. So this means इसका price अगर P है, या उल्टा कर लो, इसका प्राइस अगर P लेते हैं तो इसका प्राइस P plus 50 हो जाएगा. That's the next reaction, right? or obviously you can anticipate this at this point in the problem कि number of shirts into price, these two variables connect in the product form and they give you an outcome of revenue or cost, right? So there is going to be some cost element inside this question. That's something that you can predict at this point. And यहाँ पे the third part says she paid a total of 5,000 for the large shirts. When you read that, you should be able to understand that the number of large shirts into P plus 50 is equal to 5,000. L into P plus 50 is equal to 5,000. On the other hand, you also realize that on the other side, it says, and a total of 1800 for the small shirts. So S into P is equal to 1800. S into P is equal to 1800. So what you get from here essentially, is three unknowns, L, P and S, and three equations, 1, 2 and 3. And there's again a situation जहाँ पे अगर तुम, if you go through with the mathematical approach of solving it, the algebraic approach of solving it, you're going to be in difficulty. ठीक है? You're going to be in difficulty. So what you have to do in this point is again try to think of numbers. और यहाँ पे number thing, numerical thinking is assisted. The question is asking price of a large shirt and a small shirt together. और यहाँ पे इस क्वेश्चन में यहाँ पे ऑप्शन नहीं दिख रहे, लेकिन the question was assisted by the fact that they had given us the options for the price of a small shirt and a large shirt, and the different options was 100, 200, 150, and I think the other one was 225, something like this. So when you start thinking about this question में options तुमको help करते हैं to try to fit in values into our system of equations. And once you what happens is if you insert P for example, ठीक है, तो P plus 50 ऑटोमेटिकली इंसर्ट हो जाएगा, तो S का वैल्यू आएगा, L का वैल्यू आएगा और S और L आएगा. और S और L अगर आएगा तो उसको तुमको इस इक्वेशन में मैच करना पड़ेगा, और मैच हो जाएगा तो तीनों इक्वेशन सेट हो गए. और अगर कोई नंबर्स तीनों इक्वेशन को नहीं मीट कर रहे हैं, नहीं ओबे कर रहे हैं, तो तुम्हारा आंसर नहीं आएगा. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अब क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा है, द क्वेश्चन हैज आस्क्ड यू फॉर द प्राइस ऑफ अ लार्ज शर्ट एंड स्मॉल शर्ट टुगेदर. तो लार्ज प्लस स्मॉल शर्ट टुगेदर अगर चेक करोगे, अगर उसका प्राइस 100 है तो उसका प्राइस इन योर लेक्सिकन वैल्यू विल आल्सो बी 2p plus 50. सो 2p plus 50 अगर 100 है तो p का वैल्यू 25 आएगा और p plus 50 का वैल्यू 75 आएगा. तो p का वैल्यू अगर 25 है तो नंबर ऑफ स्मॉल शर्ट्स यू नीड इज 72 फॉर दैट, एंड दैट्स टू मच. इस पे तो वर्क नहीं करने वाला है. सो यू कैन रिजेक्ट दिस ऑप्शन इमीडिएटली. 200 अगर ट्राई करोगे तो 2p plus 50 is 200, तो p is 150, तो p is 75 and p plus 50 is 125, right? So p को अगर 75 इंसर्ट करते हैं यहाँ पे which is 3/4, so यहाँ पे into 4/3 हो जाएगा. So this is essentially 75 करोगे तो 1800 को तुम जब डिवाइड करोगे तो 18 into 100 डिवाइड बाय 75 करके लिख सकते हो, तो दिस इज 4/3. तो इसका वैल्यू 24 आ रहा है, एस का वैल्यू. और यहाँ पे अगर 125 डालोगे p plus 50 में, इसका वैल्यू 125 डालोगे तो यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली सी दैट इसका वैल्यू 40 आएगा, राइट? सो L का वैल्यू 40 आ रहा है, S का वैल्यू 24 आ रहा है, तो टोटल S plus L 64 आ जा रहा है. Right? And you can see that all the three conditions are matched. All the three conditions are matched. And hence you have complete answer in this. Wrong option से क्या देखा? S plus L 64 नहीं आ रहा है. That's what will happen. If you try any other wrong option, for example, if you try 150 as the wrong option, 2p plus 50 is 150, so p is 50 and L is p plus 50 is 100. इस पे 50 डालोगे तो ये 36 शर्ट्स आएगा, और यहाँ 100 डालोगे तो यहाँ 50 शर्ट्स आएगा, तो you'll get 86 shirts overall. So you can see the third equation does not match. What do we do there? Right? So this was the third question. Let's look at the fourth one. ये भी एक standard question है in a lot of ways. ये भी एक standard question in a lot of ways. ट्राई करो इसको. So this question says one part of a hostel's monthly expenses is fixed and the other part is proportional to the number of boarders. The hostel collects 1600 per month from each boarder. So the starting point in this question is that there is some fixed cost and some variable cost. And this varying cost depends on number of boarders. The hostel collects 1600 per month from each boarder. So यहाँ पे number of boarders पे depend करता है n, if n is the number of boarders, that you're talking about. So the revenue that you're getting is 1600 into n, because you are earning 1600 rupees per boarder. When the number of boarders is 50, the profit of the hostel is rupees 200 per boarder. Now this means that N50 पे they are giving me a value कि profit per boarder is equal to 200. What that means? Now profit that you will earn in such a situation will basically be revenue minus cost, right? And the revenue is basically going to be 1600 into number of boarders. The revenue is always going to be 1600 into number of boarders. And the cost is going to be the fixed cost plus the variable cost, which will mean again number of boarders into the, let's call it V, where V is the cost per boarder, variable cost per boarder. And they're telling us that the profit per boarder is 200 at 50 boarders. So the profit, this is the profit equation. The profit being 200 per boarder at 50 boarders, the profit is 10,000. Right? And at 50 boarders, the income you have is 80,000. Sixteen hundred to 50, which means that your cost would be 70,000. And F plus 50V, F plus 50V will be equal to 70,000. So you've been able to build an equation based on this situation. This is the first equation of this problem. आगे देखोगे, when the number of boarders is 75, the profit of the hostel is 250 per boarder. So if I've got 75 boarders, my revenue is 1600 into 75. Right? And this is equal to F plus 75N, 75V. This minus F plus 75V is equal to your profit is 250 rupees per boarder, so the profit is 75 into 250. So now this is going to be a slightly complicated calculation. This is 1,20,000 minus F plus 75V is equal to 75 into 250, which is 18,750. So you get a second equation which says that F plus 75V is equal to 1,01,250. Subtraction of 1,20,000 minus 18,750. And if you subtract from the first equation the second equation, from the second equation the first equation, if you subtract, you'll get 25V is equal to 31,250. So the value of V is equal to what? 1250. 31250 divided by 25. This is going to be 1250. Yeah. So the value of V is to 1250. So the question is finally asking you, and if the value of V is 1250, and we know F plus 50V is 70,000, you can extract the value of F also. F plus 50V is 70,000. When you insert V as 1250 here, you will get 67500. कितना आएगा? 1250 into 62500. And the value of the fixed cost will be 7,500. And once you get that, your last part is, when the number of boarders is 80, what is the total profit of the hostel? So when the number of boarders is 80, let me just clean up the board a little bit. When the number of boarders is 80, my cost is 7,500 plus 15 to 80. Sorry, not 15 to 80. V is 1250. So my cost is 7,500 plus 80 into 1250, which is 1,07,500. And my revenue is 1,600 into 80. तो ये 1,28,000 हो जाएगा revenue, and my cost is 1,07,550. 1,07,500. So my profit is 20,500. That's the answer to this question. Option 3 is the answer. But ये process अगर करने जाओगे तो you will see, as you can see, this process is very cumbersome and very long. बहुत cumbersome है, बहुत long है this process, as you can clearly see, and you'll get stuck badly while doing this process. तो इसका एक shortcut मैं बताता हूँ तुम लोग को. ये तो इसका long cut था solution का. Let me show you how I got this question in something like 30 seconds in the exam. The thinking was something like this. One part of hostel monthly expense fixed and the other part is proportional. The hostel collects 1,600 per month from each boarder. When the number of boarders is 50, the profit of the hostel is 200 per boarder. Now see, this question you have to understand one key factor, that for every unit sold, every one boarder, there's an additional profit. Addition to the profit is constant, and that addition to the profit can be thought of as, addition to the profit is constant, and that addition to the profit can be thought of as the margin per boarder. It can be thought of as margin per boarder, right? And the margin per border is defined as the revenue per border minus the variable cost per border. So the other way, and of course the much faster, much quicker way of solving this question goes something like this. When the number of borders is 50, the profit of the hostel is 200 per border. So at 50 borders, your profit is 10,000 rupees. And when the number of borders is 75, when the number of borders is 75, your profit is 75 into 250. So it becomes 18,750 per border. So what you can see is that for an additional 25 borders, you have an additional profit of 8750. So that means every additional border is contributing to a profit by the value of 8750 divided by 25. And if you check that, this tells me that the profit per border is 350. If the profit per border is 350, you get all the angles to this question. You got 1600 people, 1600 rupees revenue per border. So the variable cost has to be 1250. 350 is the margin, and 1250 variable cost है, तो you can work out the fixed cost also. ज़रूरत नहीं है उसका, because the question is going into asking you to for the profit when there are 80 borders. So that means all we need to do, we are not even looking at this rate. ये 350 की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है हमको. Yeah, 350 we need. 350 we need. And all we need to do, ये 350 निकल गया एक बार कि per border extra profit is 350. Once you get that, so the last part of this is that 5 extra borders will give me an extra profit of 5 into 350, which is 1750. So the extra profit of 1750 will take my profit to 20,500. So you can just see this solution. Just see this solution and compare it with this solution. The one I just showed you is a two-step solution. And this one, two-step, maybe 30-40 seconds. And this solution will take you, this is the normal conventional way maths explains it to solve this. This for us. ठीक है ना? So यहाँ पे you'll take at least 4 to 5 minutes with the writing etc. और वहाँ पे 40-second solution है. And people ask me that how do we start thinking this way? How do I start thinking this way? So the answer is, if you see this thought process, the thought process is actually built on a very very strong understanding of the variables involved in this inside this question. And not just understanding, it's about a strong listing of the variables involved in this question. First of all, listing of the variables, and then the understanding of the relationship between the variables. Both of them have to be really strong for you to control solutions like this. Chalo. So let's do one more question. Let's do one more question here. Oops. Try this question. Again, his question may be एक specific point पे reaction है. If you can get that reaction, this question is doable very very quickly. Otherwise, you can of course do it with percentages and numbers. The question says, in a tournament, a team has played 40 matches so far and won 30% of them. So what it's saying is that a team has played 40 matches and won 30% of that. So if you won 30% of 40 matches, you would have won 12 matches. The question further says, if they win 60% of the remaining matches, the overall win percentage will be 50%. So let's say there are n matches remaining and they win 50% of those matches. So they will win 0.5 n matches further. And the total number of wins you have, 12 plus 0.5 n. Sorry, they win 60% of the remaining matches. So if they win 60% of the remaining matches, you will have 0.6 n matches won. So what you will get is 12 plus 0.6 n divided by 40 plus n is equal to 0.5, because this ratio has to be 1 by 2, because you're winning 50% of the total matches. So then you can just solve this to the equation. 12 plus 0.6 n is equal to 20 plus 0.5 n. तो अभी आगे क्या पूछा है वो देखे नहीं हम लोग ने. So what you get is 8 is equal to 0.1 n. So n is equal to 80. That means if the team has played 40 matches, it still has to play 80 more matches. And the question further says, suppose they win 90% of the remaining matches, what is the total number of matches won by the team in the tournament? So if they win 90% of the remaining matches, that means they win 90% of this 80 matches. They'll win 72 more matches, and 72 matches here and 12 matches here. will give you a win percentage of 84 matches, a total of win of 84 matches. So the correct answer is option 1 here. Chalo, so that's all from my side today. We'll wind up for now. And I'll be live again tomorrow 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. with further questions. I might pick some questions from here, or I might pick up some other set of questions also from previous year questions. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye. 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 See you. See you.